Hello you plonkers and welcome back today to another video on the Drewzy channel. We are back for a predictions video today, ladies and gentle dogs. We're about halfway through, a little bit over halfway through the regular season, so I thought I would make a mid-seasons AFL predictions for y'all. As I say before all my predictions videos, predictions are words before. Before, diction words. Before words, you switch it around, it's words before. So don't be getting salty at me until the season's done, then you can come abuse me. But until then, I know as much as you do, and you know as much as I do. We both don't know anything, it's a prediction. So hold your abuse. If you want to abuse me, go ahead, but I'm not going to pay any attention to it until I am proven wrong. I want to hit 7.5 thousand subscribers by the end of this month as well. So if you aren't subscribed, like the 45% of people that watch my videos aren't, you absolute filthy pigs, make sure you join the Plonker army. I want to hit 7.5k. Let's get this army big and strong. Please support the channel by hitting that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and like the video to support my content in the YouTube algorithm as well. Now that you've subscribed and liked the video, you should know by now that there is a goal kicking challenge out with Caden McDonald on his channel. So make sure you head over there and watch that after this video. Anyway, let's get into the AFL mid-season predictions. We're doing the ladder positions, the premiers, medal winners, etc. Let's go! In 18th place, I'm going to put the West Coast Eagles, who have had a train crash of a season in 2022. I think a lot of their senior players have fallen off. Luke Shuey has hamstrings made of wheat bix. Tim Kelly hasn't been performing to his potential. Andrew Gaff really isn't that great anymore. Dom Sheed, who's been good in the past, really doesn't use the ball too effectively. And then you don't have like the flair from your youth to just, make the cycle of a football club work. You don't have the quality or quantity in youthful players to bring in to give your team life. West Coast has been a train crash of a season, not helped by injuries or COVID, but I think it's going to start the beginning of a long rebuild for the West Coast Eagles. Take that one, you plonkers. In 17th, I'm going to put North Melbourne, who I thought would be doing better than they have been this season. I didn't expect them to make any real waves, but I just thought they would sort of climb off the bottom levels of the ladder. But they haven't, and I don't think they will later on in the season either. After failing to sign Jason Horne-Francis and Cam Zerha, probably other players that I'm forgetting as well, their sort of list management officials or recruiting staff, whatever they're called, decided to leave the club, and some of them have been there for a long time, which shows that this club is not a stable place to be, which obviously translates to poor performances on the field. And you look at the players that they've drafted in the last 10 years, and I don't think any of their players are a top 50 player in the competition. Could be wrong, let me know if I'm forgetting someone, but I don't see North Melbourne climbing off the bottom of the ladder. They won't be wooden spooners this year like the Eagles will be, I don't think, because they're not that bad. They are terrible, but they're not that bad. So I think they'll finish in 17th. In 16th, I'm going to put Essendon, who have had a really underwhelming season this year. And apart from that win against Hawthorn, a bit of a good effort against Collingwood, I could be forgetting something in here, but they just haven't had a game this year other than those that I've just mentioned, where you could say, yep, all 22 players played to their potential and gave their absolute effort, which is pretty concerning given that they finished in the top 8 last year, and there's players that just aren't executing the game plan that Ben Rutten is giving to them to follow. It just doesn't make sense for me really, because I think Essendon have enough quality not to make the top 8, but to be in that sort of mix, those 4 teams around the top 8. But this year, the effort hasn't been there, the quality hasn't been executing, and I think it's just going to be a pretty shitty year for Essendon fans. So I'm going to put you in 16th. In 15th, I'm going to put Adelaide, who are a few years into their rebuild now, and they're starting to get those top quality young players filtering through the side. Riley Thorpe was the second pick in last year's draft. They've added Josh Rochelle this year. They've got, obviously, Darcy Fogarty up forward, who kicks their goals for them. Ned McHenry, who I've been a big fan of. They've also added Jordan Dawson and Alex Keith in recent years, which has just bolstered the quality off their list. However, they sort of lose 2 games and then win 1, and then they'll lose 3 and then win 2. They don't have that quality to really climb the ladder just yet, but I think the foundation's there. I think the rebuild's going really well for the Crows, but this year I just don't see them climbing up very high. In 14th, I'm going to put GWS, who really since the 2019 Grand Final haven't had the success that you'd expect their list to have. The Leon Cameron project has failed. They have moved on to a sort of interim coaching panel, so I don't think they're going to climb the ladder for that reason. They don't really have stability in the coaching department at the moment. They'll beat the teams that are below them. I don't think they'll be able to beat the established sides in the competition who know their game plan and have quality throughout. So I just think they're going to stagnate this year and we won't see them climb probably until next year. If they can get this coaching selection right for the next phase of this club, the sky's the limit for them. They have so much quality on this list that they just need to find a way to put all into the same side and execute. When they do, they'll be a very scary side, but this season I don't see them climbing the ladder. In 13th, I'm going to put Port Adelaide, another side who have had a really underwhelming season after being a finals contender for the last few years. They got off to a really slow start, 0-5 to start the year, and they've slowly started to climb, but I still haven't seen them put in a four-quarter effort. Other than that game against the Bulldogs probably, but the Bulldogs have been really underwhelming as well. So Port Adelaide just haven't really impressed me this year. Obviously they have a lot of quality in this side, but it just doesn't seem to be gelling all so well at the moment. Not sure if Ken Hinkley stays or goes at the end of the year. I don't have these answers. I'm just a plonker with a bloody camera and a microphone. I think they have the quality to be a good side in the years to come, but this year I don't see them pushing the top 8. In 12th, I have the Western Bulldogs, another team who have had an underwhelming year after reaching just about the highest height, making the grand final in 2021. They've failed to just rediscover that identity that got them that success in the first place. They now sit in 9th, and their form is not very good against the good sides. They beat the teams that they're supposed to, but I just see them sliding down further and further. Their backline is just very average other than a few players in there. They don't have Josh Bruce, so they rely too heavily on Norton and Waitman to kick their goals. All of their talent lies in the middle of the park, but if you can't get the ball from the back to the middle to the forward line, it makes it very hard. They're very middle heavy. They've got a lot of fat around their guts, the Bulldogs. It's not fat, but they just don't know how to get this mix right. And as Luke Beveridge said, the players outside of their starting 22 don't seem to be AFL ready quite yet. For whatever reason, they can't get guys like Jamara Ugle-Hagan into this side. Don't know why it is, but it just shows me if you don't have a quality list from top to bottom outside of your starting 22, you're not going to compete for finals. I think the Dogs have stunk it up a little bit and they exceeded expectations last year for whatever reason. In 11th, I have Hawthorn. They're a side who I like a lot, but for me, they're too bipolar to make the top 8. They can beat sides like Brisbane and Geelong, and then the next week they'll lose to Gold Coast or bloody whoever, get flogged by St Kilda. They just have these games where they won't show up for a quarter and it'll cost them the game. I think their best is just about as good as anyone's, but they're just a young side and it's just so obvious. We've seen it so many times over the past few years with young sides. They can show glimpses of what they're capable of and then not show up the next week. I think Hawthorn are one of those sides. I don't see them pushing into the top 8 this year just due to their consistency, although I think their best is good enough to make the top 8. In 10th, I'm going to put Gold Coast, the side who have really impressed me this year. Given the fact that they haven't had Ben King and Chol and Casbolt have stepped into that role, they don't struggle to kick goals with guys like Rankin and Ainsworth around those keys as well. Their midfield is a top 8 midfield in my opinion. I think Touk Miller is a top 10 player in the competition probably. You've got young talent with Noah Anderson, Matt Rao around that, David Swallow the veteran in there with Witts, one of the best ruckmen in the competition, tapping it down, elite level midfield. Then you've got Ballard and Collins, the keys down back, and Lockie Weller providing some run off half back as well. So they're a really good side, I think, the Gold Coast, and they compete every single week. They're a really contested side who can play for 4 quarters now, the Gold Coast Suns, and I don't think many sides below them can compete at that level. They've had 2 big wins in a row. They've got a pretty easy run in. Obviously, being a bottom side, you get an easy run of games. I think they could actually push the top 8. They'll be snapping at the heels of the top 8 side, the 8th side, come the end of the season, the Suns. Watch out for them. In 9th, just missing out on the top 8, I have Richmond. Again, they're another bipolar side who can show up one week and have a big win and then drop a disappointing result the next. And it's mainly actually quarter-to-quarter differences. Like that Sydney game, they were up by 5 or 6 goals and just let the game slip out of their grasp. That shouldn't be happening. I think that they're at the end of their premiership window. If they are to win another premiership, this will probably be their last year to win it, with guys like Jack Revolt probably coming to the end of their careers, and their defensive spine that was there for their 3 premierships sort of in and out of the side every week. I don't think any top 8 side on their best day would lose to Richmond, and if they did, I don't think Richmond would beat any top 8 side comprehensively light work. Like, I don't see Richmond causing any top 8 side any real issues, and I think they'll miss out on the 8 in 2022. potentially stay outside of the 8 for the next few years, given the ebbs and flows of being an AFL club. In 8th, I have Collingwood, who compete every single week. I'm a big fan of how Collingwood go about their footy. They've beaten Freo, they've beaten the Hawks, they've beaten Carlton, they come close to Brisbane, they've got a massive test in Melbourne this week, and they're one of the most informed sides at this midpoint of the competition, in my opinion. People in the media seem to say that, you know, they haven't discovered their system yet. So I'm gonna buy into that collective view that Collingwood haven't discovered their system. However, the quality that they have all throughout their list, even if they have to sort of go off the game plan and just run and gun games, control teams with their immense pressure, and just win games with their star power that they have, because it's still there. I think Collingwood will be another side contending for a premiership in the next few years. Craig McRae has done a great job in his first year as coach, and I think the Pies will sneak into 8th. In 7th, I have St Kilda, who have finally managed to find a mixture in the team to make it work and re-enter the top 8 in 2022. They've got a tough month coming up. They've got Brisbane, Sydney, Carlton, and Freo in the next 5. So they're going to be taken to some deep depths in the next month or so, and we'll see if they earn their stripes in that period. But outside the Geelong game and that Hawthorn big win as well, I haven't really been blown away just yet by St Kilda. I'm not saying that they're not a top 4 quality side. They may be. I don't know yet. They do have some quality players coming back into the side, so that may work in their favour to push them further up the ladder than I expect them to. But overall, I don't rate them higher than the 6 teams above them. Alright, so just about from here on out, I think every team, probably other than Geelong, spoiler alert, who's in here, can win the premiership. And in 6th place, I'm going to go with the Sydney Swans. Sydney's best is just about as good as anyone's. They had a massive scalp on the weekend, beating the D's, but still some weeks they have an inconsistent game where they'll show up in one quarter, go to sleep in the next, and then struggle for the rest of the game to fight their way back into it. I'm thinking of that game against Brisbane, the game against Richmond. They sort of fell to sleep. I had the quality to come back into that game. And against Carlton as well, they went to sleep in that second quarter, which cost them the game. You can't be doing that if you're going to be trying to contend for a flag. But we know Sydney have enough older quality in this side, as well as young flair, who are currently blossoming. Guys like Logan McDonald, Chad Warner, having great seasons this year. I think they have enough quality throughout their list to push for a premiership this year. I think it's achievable. Don't think it's outside of the realms of possibility. I think they can, but I think they are probably the 5th most likely to do that for me. I'm going to put them in 6th just because of the run homes that other teams have. I did a ladder predictor and this is what I got. So I think Sydney will finish in 6th. In 5th, I'm going to put Geelong, who have a pretty relatively easy run home. I think they play West Coast twice and North Melbourne, so you can just chalk up 12 points there. They always beat the teams that you expect them to beat. The teams around them, they sort of go right against, and then the teams above them, they seem to always lose to. There's just not that A1 top tier, like clearly better than the best side Geelong. They're just absolutely as you expect. They have guys like Hawkins and Cameron up front who will kick 10 goals between them in a game, but they'll come up against a well-regimented side with a good game plan and a structurally sound defence, and they'll struggle to get the ball to those big forwards to get the job done. So I'm not convinced by Geelong this year. I think they're going to be on a decline probably pretty soon. I'm hating on them for finishing 5th, which is pretty bad, I know, because finishing 5th is a good achievement, but by Geelong standards, they need success. They haven't had it in over a decade now, and I just don't think it's going to come. What new life can they breed into this Geelong side to make them that top tier side? What's going to give them that X factor? I don't know where it's going to come from. Starting out the top 4, I'm going to put the Colton Blues, who have sprung back up into the 8 for the first time, I think since 2013, 2014. Playing really good footy under Michael Voss. They're a very well regimented, relentless side who work hard for the team's benefit. Very selfless side. Their role players who have been criticised in the past are sort of stepping up now and playing their role. And Paddy Cripps is in career best form. Walsh does what he does, runs about 18 kilometres a game. And Charlie Curnow is playing the best footy he has in his career. He is second in the Coleman, really filling in that void which Harry Mackay has left through injury. The only 2 concerns I have with the Colton Blues is how are they going to cope with Jacob Wiedering out, because he is an absolutely vital pillar in this Colton side, as well as the lapses that they have in games. They have quarters where they'll just go to sleep. They'll have a massive lead. They'll run up a lead like they did against Hawthorn and Port Adelaide and Sydney, and then they just grit their teeth and just have to scrap all the way to the end. Why can't they implement their game plan for 4 quarters? If they can address their issues of Wiedering being out, as well as their inconsistency from quarter to quarter, I think Colton will be a genuine premiership contender in 2022, although I think the 3 teams above them are more likely to win the flag. In third, I have Brisbane, who initially I thought were a top 2 side, but in recent weeks they've lost to Hawthorn and Freo, whilst struggling against the GWS Giants as well, all due to their leaky defence. They concede far too many goals, the opposition scores are always far too high, and Brisbane are just sort of like a gung-ho team. They'll just go, alright, we'll score more points than you, we don't care how many we concede, we'll just score more than you. Their midfield's as good as anyone's, and if they can get on top of the contested ball, they have a very potent forward line. Eric Hipwood's back into the side, Joe Danaher's about to come back, McStay's got a great pair of mids, Cameron, Rayner has been in great form, and obviously Zach Bailey I think will be one of the best players in the competition one day. He's having a great season as well. The quality is there going forward, but down back they concede far too much for me, and I think they'll drop a few more games heading into the tail end of the season. In second place, I have the Fremantle Dockers. Teams find it hard to score against us. Our defence is immense, and we finally started to find a way to kick bloody goals. Can you believe it? Our midfield mix is perfect. You've got contested balls in Will Brodie and Andy Brayshaw. You've got polished stars like David Mundy and Caleb Sarong. And then you've got James Aish, who just does whatever job is required every week. Up forward, our key forwards are probably our only concern. They're a bit inconsistent, Matt Taberner and Rory Lobb, but they usually pop up for about 4 goals between them a game. We've got Nat Fyfe coming back in, who I think will play half forward. So those contested marks inside 50, I don't think will be an issue going forward. Sean Darcy usually drifts inside 50 to take those marks as well. And if those tall options fail, we've got the small forwards, Switkowski, Schultz, Frederick, Walters, Collier. Good quality. Some of the top quality small forwards, maybe the best small forward lineup in the comp, probably biased, but they just get the job done every week. They get the general play goals, they apply pressure to turn the ball over, to kick snags, and they work hard both ways. They tackle defensively and they beat their opponent to get into the open space going forward. We are now a very hard-working side filled with stars and role players who execute their role perfectly every week to follow a system. Now, if I'm talking about another side, I would say they are absolute premiership contenders. They are my side, and this may sound absolutely biased, but we are absolutely premiership contenders. There is no doubt about it. So in first, that leaves the Melbourne Demons, and I think they're just going to clinch top spot just from the start they had. They were 10-0 to start off the season, but they've lost 2 in a row to Freo and Sydney, so they've been found out somewhat, and they've lost that mid to forward connection which they need to rediscover. If Melbourne are to finish top spot and win the premiership again, they need to find new ways to score goals. They need to rediscover their defensive DNA that they had in their premiership year, because at the moment those 2 things have gone missing, and if they can't grasp it, there'll be another team there to swoop in and take out the flag, which we'll get onto next. So now that we've discussed the ladder positions, I'm going to go through who I think will win the medals in the premiership. So starting off with the Coleman medal, I think Jeremy Cameron will take that out. Currently sits at the top. Obviously Geelong's key forward. I think he's overtaken Tom Hawkins in who their top dog is up forward. Currently leads the Coleman. I think he'll get that easily. For the rising star, I'm going to go with Josh Dacos. He seems to be the best quality rising star in the competition at the moment. It'll be him or Jai Newcomb, Heath Chapman. One of those 3, I reckon, will win it, but I'm going to put my claim on Josh Dacos. For the Brownlow, I think it'll be Lachie Neale. He seems to get 3 votes every week, gets 35 touches, just absolute star of the competition. He's done it before, and I can see him doing it again. I'm going to back in Lachie Neale to get it done. Now, for the premiership, I'm going to back in my Fremantle Dockers, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think right now the Freo Dockers are the number 1 contender to take out the premiership. After beating Melbourne and Brisbane, the 2 sides who were touted to be the best sides in the competition this year, all of our stats stack up. You hear all these pundits talking about the scores from turnovers, the opposition scores per inside 50, all that sort of stuff, scores from centre bounce, just all of those stats that lead to a successful side. Success follows these stats, and we are at the tip top of all these categories that seem to win premierships. Now, I could look back on this in a few months and think, what an absolute idiot, or I could think, what an absolute G for having the belief in his own football club. Freo, This is absolutely one-eyed, but could you please win the premiership? Thank you. And that's going to wrap up my mid-season AFL predictions. So let me know down in the comments what you predict will happen. I want to know. I'll be reading those. So get down your ladders, get down your medal winners and your premiership winners. Before you click off, make sure you drop a like on the video to help me out in the algorithm, and subscribe if you're new and enjoy my videos. It's absolutely free. Click that red button and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. You punk.